Podcast.
I think it was a disgraceful performance, and I think it should never be permitted to happen again.
That is very good.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the Cricket Podcast, where we've got a double game day. No, two games. We've got two games. We're going to talk about two games. Starting with today's match between Royal Challengers Bangalore and the Chennai Super Kings. And then moving on to talk about yesterday's contest between Mumbai Indians and the Kolkata Knight Riders. The resurgent Kolkata Knight Riders, the most dangerous team in the IPL. I am Jack Hope. I'm joined by Dan Weston, who is sporting his RCB mask. I've forgotten to put my shirt on, so I might have to run off halfway through the podcast to get that. How are you doing, Dan? It's good that we've managed to get you off of FIFA to join us to join us for this one.
It's all right though, because I've now got Wissam Ben Yedder, Benzema, Griezmann and Lloris in my team. So anyone who plays Ultimate Team will know that Ben Yedder's the king. So we're good with that. One day.
That's good. A few messages. We always start with some messages. We're sponsored by Woodstock Cricket. You can see their logo down there. Woodstock Cricket are purveyors of crude cricket bats. As I said on the last show with Max, my batting average went up from 27 to 57 this season because I used a Woodstock Cricket bat. If you'd like to get good at cricket too, TCP25, head over there and help yourself. We are also on Patreon, patreon.com/The Cricket Pod, in the show notes if you'd like to give to the show directly and get some exclusive stuff. And you can find us on Twitter and the Instagram. Is it the Instagram? It's probably not the Instagram, is it?
The gram.
That made me sound like I'm about 57 there, the Instagram, at the Cricket Pod. Let's talk about today's cricket match first of all. Royal Challengers Bangalore, well, they batted first at Sharjah, and they got off to a decent enough start with the Master and Padawan duo of Kohli and Padikkal taking advantage of the Sharjah dimensions initially to get them up to 90 off, I think, the first 10 overs. From there, though, the wise old man, the patron saint of captains and specialist captain himself, MS Dhoni, put the brakes on, and Royal Challengers Bangalore, they can only muster 156. And anyone who knows Sharjah at all, or anyone's seen cricket at Sharjah, know that's approximately 50 runs too few. De Villiers and Maxwell, they failed to fire again. Tim David on IPL debut didn't really trouble the scorer. And yeah, it meant CSK had a pretty easy chase. If they had any nerves, they didn't show them. As just looking through the scorecard now, I think the entire top 1, 2, 3, 4 all managed 20 plus. Suresh Raina batting at 5 was 17 not out off 10 balls. They won with, I think, 11 deliveries to spare. MS Dhoni came out to the crease and did 24 from 32. I thought he was going to try and take it deep. But even he couldn't manufacture some last-minute heroics out of that position. And yeah, they won comfortably. Let's start, Dan, I think, with Royal Challengers Bangalore and their batting. So we weren't particularly positive about the batting lineup they sent out in the last match. At the very least, they corrected that. I mean, that might have been the only good thing they did, was not sending KS Bharat out at number 3.
Sachin Baby,
sorry, yeah, wow.
Yeah, I mean, I like their lineup more today, I must admit, than the other day. Jameson out and also Sasha Baby, Tim David back in, and Saini as well. I like their lineup more. I don't understand why Azharuddin doesn't play over KS Bharat. Apart from that, I don't really have many quibbles.
Yeah, I that is a weird one. I don't. I mean, you don't know what the selection decisions are, or what the selection criteria are for a lot of these teams. But he is somebody who seems like they'd be able to do a job at like number 6, number 7, just for a few balls. I mean, they're not going to be like the greatest number 6 or 7 in the IPL, but they might.
They've clearly got no faith in Bharat because Harshal Patel and Hasaranga batted ahead of him today.
Well, yeah. That's the RCB lottery. In terms of what we saw, so we've covered selection. I think they probably get a pass mark for selection. And when it comes to batting, 156 is just not enough runs. I mean, Kohli just said after the game that he thinks 175 might have been a winning score. I'd probably argue that wouldn't have been a winning score either. No. To be honest, I think there are two possible options here, Dan. And I'm gonna see what you think. I think one, they built a decent platform and then they failed to build on that in the second half of the innings. Or two, they didn't build as good a platform as they thought they'd built because they wasted the best time of the innings to bat and went at less than 10 and over. Now that second one sounds a little bit hypocritical because they were 90 off 10, which isn't too bad. But if you are thinking we want to get up near 200 here, was it a good start? What do you reckon?
I think kind of both, a bit of both really. I think that when you're 55 for naught at the end of the power play, that's really, really positive start for you. And because of the fact that you've lost no wickets, that enables you, when you've got Davidius, Maxwell, Tim David all to come, it enables you to kind of tee off a little bit more than if you lost, say, 2 wickets in the power play, or 2+ wickets. And with that strong power play, they needed to accelerate and they needed to remember that it was at Sharjah. And I think that both those factors are pretty important. 56 runs in 44 balls until the point that they lost their first wicket after the power play. Now, in normal circumstances, that's like ballpark 125-ish strike rate. It's all right. It's nothing to write home about in the middle overs. But when you're 55 for naught in the power play at Sharjah, that's not good enough. So I don't have the average strike rate in the IPL at Sharjah last year to hand, but I found an old article that wrote really quickly, and the average Sharjah strike rate at Sharjah at the halfway point of last year's IPL, it was 160, and batting first was 175. So, and that's not including extras. So you're looking at 200 par there at least, which is what you said earlier.
Yeah, I think that's what you want to aim for. Even if it was, they were saying it's a little bit of a slow pitch, and it probably was. There's probably some merit to that. They went out and played on it.
My back garden though.
But that's it, isn't it? You don't, chance your arm a little bit, and anything that goes up has got a 50-50 chance of going for 6.
Yeah,
it's a postage stamp. It's there's 55-metre boundaries and stuff like that. There's normally the shortest boundary you get at one of these UAE grounds is about 62, 63.
Yeah.
So it's quite a lot shorter than that. Pretty much the whole way around the ground. It's a bat as heaven. I by the way absolutely love games at Sharjah. I think 180 plus V180 plus in T20 is one of the best spectacles in terms of entertainment and drama that you get in sport, full stop.
No doubt.
People talk about 150 V150 and those games can be good, but I think you've got to really like cricket to actually get the same amount of joy out of that. Whereas when the ball's just flying out the stadium, it is going on the road like that game with Tuatia last year. It is so much fun. So more games at Sharjah is what I say.
Yeah, I equate it to okay. So if you look at it as a football supporter, right, you're got to want to watch I don't know, Man City v Liverpool or 2 random teams, even 2 small teams like Norwich v Brentford or something like that. That's going to actually attack. You got chances of a 3-2 or a 4-3 or something like that. But then I look at Burnley v Stoke or something like that, and you think, well, yeah, the old Pulis Stoke anyway, and you think, that's probably a match at Japork, one for the real purist, and I'm not going to sit there and devote 4 hours of my afternoon to watch nerdlers nudge it around for ones and stuff. I'm interested in that.
I want the ball on the motorway.
Yeah, exactly.
It was. I like Sharjah. It was good to be back there. It's one of the silver linings to having a 2-phase IPL this year is that we do get games then. We had a couple of questions through on Twitter, so I'm paraphrasing a few of these. We'll get to questions a bit later in the show. We'll actually name people. Glenn Maxwell has not had a great start to the second half of this IPL. He had an incredibly poor IPL last year in the UAE. Is that something we can expect to continue? Do you think? If he, I mean, he hit a six today. Didn't manage that at all last season. Or is this just like, a little bit of noise? Nothing to be concerned about.
Massive noise, absolutely massive noise. I'll tell you for a couple of reasons. One, he's an easy scapegoat because he plays in an attacking way, and that enables a narrative to be built around him that he doesn't care or whatever, which is completely probably untrue. I don't see that at all. And two, he's done no worse than De Villiers, and no one's even remotely questioned De Villiers' form at this point in time in the tournament. And furthermore, as well, what people have to understand is that, like, this guy, he's coming in to bat at, 140 for 2 with 19 balls left, right?
Yeah.
Well, what? He's going to tilt. If you get out in that situation, that's the risk that's the role that you're in.
You're supposed to get out in that situation.
His role generally is to play that high variance, high volatility hitting role. And you know what, right? People have far too high expectations for consistency out of these guys. If he wins you a match 2 times out of 10 or goes part way to winning a decent contribution to winning you a match 2 times out of 10, that's actually good. People think, these guys who smash it, they've got to win you the match like 40% of the time. No, they don't. It just doesn't happen. Like, if you went through all of the players who won teams a match, if fans did that, they'd be absolutely shocked at how low a percentage of time someone makes a meaningful contribution, which actually hugely positively influences their team's win percentage.
Yeah, I sort of think of a guy you can maybe compare him to, who people I think would say has had a really good season this year, is Shimron Hetmeyer, and I think he's had like 2 innings where he scored more than 10 runs. But when he hit 50 off 20 balls, like it was. Yeah.
Shimron Hetmeyer's like a Twitter darling. I don't understand.
I don't fully understand it as well. But 50 off 20 balls is that match winning contribution. I mean, for the amount of money they're paying for him, he's probably, more or less paid that back in terms of just that one innings there. Yeah. And Glenn Maxwell, better cricketer, if he manages 2-3 at a push over the course of an IPL, like a standout stunning innings, you probably would say money's worth it. I think he's their second top run scorer. I think it's a little bit harsh on Glenn Maxwell, and I think he is like you say, he's an easy target because he is attacking, and because he is attacking, he gets out in really non-cricketing ways. Your brain is tuned to seeing people nick off, or maybe at a push, a good boundary catch, not like get out, switch hitting, bowled middle stump to some trundler, which Glenn Maxwell does quite regularly because he's trying to score at 150 plus, which not many guys are.
Absolutely. And don't forget as well, he's a three facet player as well. So he's an excellent fielder and actually a really underrated left-hand batter bowling matchup option as well. It was quite amusing that they brought him on as soon as Moeen Ali came in, and then he got Duplessis instead straight away. So they brought him on for the matchup and actually got the other guy. So can happen.
Sometimes you get lucky. So that sort of covers RCB's batting. I think we both agree it wasn't very good. It's hard to. I think it's hard in this circumstance to blame Maxwell or De Villiers. De Villiers, by the way, 15 runs across his last 3 innings. That's the lowest 3-inning streak in his IPL career. So, they should get rid of him. He's rubbish now. Can we talk a little bit about what CSK did well? And why don't we just attribute all the good stuff to MS Dhoni, who
most people do.
Yeah, but I thought again he was pretty good. I was looking at their bowling figures for this match, slightly unusually for the IPL. They only use 4 bowlers, They only use 5 bowlers. They all bowled out. And they only used 4 overs of spin, which breaks the Dhoni spin master narrative a little bit. We didn't see Moeen. Was that purely a match-up thing, do you reckon? Or was Dhoni possibly a bit worried about bowling maybe a less consistent spinner than Jadeja on a ground where it's small and you can get hit for sixes?
Yeah, I think, again, a bit of both. I don't see that Moeen Ali against Kohli and Padikal would have been a negative matchup for Mo. I think that obviously Padikal's left-hander, so you want him on against the left-hander. Kohli, he's famed for his lack of boundary intent against spin, so I think that there was the ability to get usage of Mo as a bowler against Kohli and Padikal. Obviously, it didn't happen. 4 overs of spin, though, for CSK is probably about as low as it gets, I would have thought, for them.
It is, and I do think that Kohli spin weakness, and we might as well say it is a weakness. He is a weak hitter against spin. Wasn't maybe they didn't maybe exploit that as much as other teams will try to. This is going back a little bit, but I was looking at run rates through the IPL. I think over the last 2 IPLs, in the middle overs, RCB have scored at under 1.2 runs per ball. Yeah. Which happened again today. It was quite to the formula, except they didn't have the big finish. They're quite a good death hitting side normally, RCB, and today that they couldn't bail themselves out. Who's responsible for that? Should there be somebody? Should they? I mean, why are they so poor in the middle overs?
Because Kohli doesn't attack spinners enough. It's that simple. When you've got a guy who's playing the lion's share of your balls in the middle over, who hits spinner a low boundary percentage, that is the clear byproduct of that. And this is why I think we get a lot of comments, don't we, Jack? When we do podcasts and talk about Kohli, we do get a lot of comments in the chat and on YouTube about that we're Kohli bashing, and we're not Kohli bashing. This is evidence-based discussion about his boundary intent against spin in the middle overs and how that negatively affects RCB's win percentage chances, and that has the sort of the knock-on effect, if you like, you shouldn't be paying 17 crore for a player who negatively impacts your win percentage chances in the middle overs. All these things are rolled into one. This is a coherent, evidence-based discussion. It's nothing personal. If Virat Kohli hit 20% boundaries against spin in the middle overs, we'd be calling him the greatest hitter of all time, or on a par with Andre Russell, but with consistency. But he doesn't do that, and so therefore we have to be evidence-based. We have to be rational. We have to take emotion out of it. We have to ignore the fact that he's a great Test player and a great ODI player, and say at this point in time, he is not contributing enough for RCB right now.
Not for the money at all, I don't think.
Absolutely. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about relatively for the money.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think either of us would say he was a bad player necessarily, but no, it's for 17 crore, he's about as bad as they come.
You can be a good player and represent poor value for money. If Manchester City went and spent 300 million on Harry Kane, with very little resale value, that's a good example of a team who have overpaid dramatically for a guy who's very good. But it doesn't mean to say it's a good value purchase, and I think that's exactly the same with RCB, and they're also sort of affected even more because by paying 17 crore for Kohli, they can't spend money on a death bowler or a really good local call, or three locals who cost 6 crore each or something like that, and whereas Man City, if they spent 300 million on Harry Kane and just go, okay, well, that's just out of our bank account, and maybe we'll try and just find some money for some other players as well, and then that's probably okay. But you know what I'm saying, though?
In a salary cap league, it's an allocation of resources problem that they've got here. They've allocated too much of their resource, cash, to a player that doesn't return the value in terms of win percentage over a season.
Yeah,
and it is as simple as that. That's why we talk about him all. I mean, like that, and he's Virat Kohli, and obviously we're a cricket podcast. We're going to talk about Virat Kohli. But yeah, flipping over to the CSK innings, there's not a huge amount to talk about here. It was quite a professional batting performance. They hit 7 sixes, they hit a few boundaries. They didn't let it get too deep. Good batting all round, I thought.
Yeah, absolutely. Never really let the rate get away from them, which is it's pretty difficult to let the rate get away from them when you're chasing less than 8 and over at Sharjah. But we'll put that into some context. But impressive. Seemed in control really throughout, didn't they? And I think that I don't really have a lot to say about it. But what I will say is that CSK hit 3 boundaries more in 11 balls less than RCB. So the boundary percentage is dramatically different. And RCB hit 17 boundaries in 120 balls, 14%. That's not good enough at Sharjah. It's that simple. That is not good enough to win you a match at Sharjah. And as soon as I'm going to go on about this, and I'm sorry to the regular listeners if you get bored of this stuff, but dot ball avoidance is not a good strategy, folks. It is not a good strategy.
Yep. Yeah, and that, again, that's another thing that's just borne out by like maths and the history of T20 cricket. You can individually, people here, you could go to Crick Sheets, download the whole history of the IPL, and with a few pivot tables, prove what Dan just said. You do it in an hour.
If we can do this at home, beyond me. And I listened to your Sunrisers Hyderabad podcast with Max the other day, and it was strong. It was really strong. But I think it was very, very warranted. We
went through their entire 11 and said why they were rubbish.
It was more about the structure and saying that these people shouldn't be getting jobs in cricket, and I think that this is quite a critical point, because we're sitting here, we can work this stuff out in England. Me as a business and you as I would say, a podcaster, someone who's really interested in analytics, someone who's considerably more educated than the average fan. We can work this out. Yeah, no, it's true. We can work this out. Why are these guys on 6-figure salaries incapable of... You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is. The other thing we go on about this. It's not because we hate the players or we don't like the guys. It's fundamentally the point is we want to see better cricket played. Yeah. And there is a lot of evidence that the way they're playing is not the best way to play the game. That's all analysis is. I mean, there's nothing to be scared of. It's just like, how do we play this game better?
Yeah.
Anyway,
it's a higher percentage of dots than RCB, but because they hit more boundaries, it was easy.
Yeah, it was really easy. What else have we got here? I did think, I don't know if you, this was more of an observation than anything else, but the Ryder Cup is taking place at the moment in the States. I wonder how. I don't know if Dhoni is a fan of golf, but I reckon the role of the non-playing captain is something I absolutely love, isn't it? Just sort of.
That's what it's doing in the World Cup, kind of, isn't it? It's like that mentor.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. They've taken effectively a Ryder Cup style captain in Dhoni.
I noticed that I've seen as well that Sri Lanka are doing similar with Jai Wardner as well.
Are they? Yeah. It sort of makes sense a little bit, I think.
Yeah.
It's like,
massively.
They're people with a lot of experience at a very high level of cricket.
If you're India, you're foolish not to use Dhoni's experience and the value that he can bring from that. I mean, we laugh about the commentators giving him way too much credit, but I've also said, and I truly mean this, he's in the top 5. He's in that. We talk about captains, 90% of them are just neutral in terms of the value they add to their teams. He's in that 5% of captains who are really good. So, I think we think the commentators probably go a little bit overboard on the narrative of him being a great captain and giving him all this credit for decisions which any captain probably would make. But he's also one of the best, and India would be a fool not to use that. So I think that's a good shout from them.
Just to wrap up on this game, we're going to head over to Patreon, patreon.com/thecricketpod. If you want us to read out all your comments and stuff. Girish, who is a big RCB fan, and out in the UAE, and said he was going to go to a game or two. I don't know if he has yet, but let us know when you do, Girish. Another match and another RCB loss. I've seen this so many times now. RCB, after they get off to a good start, are just unable to strike the killer blows. Paddock is great in the power play, but I think he loses the plot in the middle overs. To be fair, RCB did try to give the big hitters a lot of strike, but Dhoni, his usual middle over strangling, and the overs just zipped through, and RCB left wondering how did they reach 16th over with so few runs. I think we talked a lot about that. The question is, where do RCB go from here, Dan? So they were a banker for the playoffs, I thought, before the second half of this tournament starts. 5 wins, 4 losses. They're third in the table. 5 games to go. 3 wins guarantees them, qualification. 2 wins might do. They've got a pretty poor net run rate, so they probably do need to win 3. Are you still pretty confident they'll make it?
Yeah, I think they got a lot right with their strategy today in terms of team selection. But unfortunately, again, we go back to the Kohli stuff. They have to structure up differently as a team. You cannot spend a high percentage of your budget on 3 or 4 players. It just doesn't work. It's like the Galactico approach at Real Madrid when they had 7 superstars and then 4 random academy players or something like that. Like they are going to have to win 3 games to qualify because 14 points is not going to be enough with a shambolic net run rate. So they're going to have to win 3 out of the last 5. We thought they were going to. Well, I think I said that thought they were going to win 5 out of the last 7, and we thought they were going to end up in 10 wins. I'm still pretty confident to qualify, but it doesn't change the fact that they've got these inherent issues at the team that will, and they're going to have to ask some difficult questions.
Yeah. I think I'd still be reasonably optimistic if I were an RCB fan. I'm just going to take a quick look at who they've got to play. So they've got Mumbai Indians in the next game.
Big game for both.
That's big, yeah, and some. That's a really big game. It's not quite a knockout because there's 4 games left after that for both of them. But
that's a double header in Sunday. That'll be wow. That's something to look for.
That's going to be it. I'm looking forward to that. Then they got Rajasthan. They've got the Kings of Comedy, Sunrisers, and Delhi in the final game. With any luck for RCB, Delhi will have won.
They've got 1 win out of 3 guaranteed at least.
Yeah, but the Kings of Comedy.
No. Sunrisers.
Well, look, they've got to play. The Sunrisers. Second last match, that could be a walkover. And even if Delhi are in the final, the smart move is to rest a few of their players. So you might not be playing Rabada and Nokia. You could be playing like whoever, to be honest. So I think they've got a decent schedule. They've got a pretty good team.
Still think they're favourites to qualify.
Yeah. I'd completely agree with that. Flipping over or going back to yesterday. Before we do, quick reminder: hit subscribe on Twitter. Not Twitter. We'll do it on Twitter as well, but it's following over there. Subscribe on YouTube. The road to 10k. We've stalled in the low 8,000s after a little surge. So let's get going again there. And hit like or comment or whatever on this video as well to generally confuse the YouTube algorithm into thinking that we're a lot more popular than we are. No, to make us as popular as we deserve to be. That's what I should have said. Yesterday we saw Mumbai Indians take on a pretty fiery-looking Kolkata Knight Riders. In a similar-ish game as today, to be honest. Mumbai, they batted first, and they were tied down by some good bowling, some good spin bowling, in particular from KKR, who decided to bowl 5 of the 6 power play overs with their spinners. This strong start was backed up by good tight bowling, or in the large part from their pace bowlers. There's some lottery stuff in there as well, but it was pretty good overall. And it restricted Mumbai to 155. In response, KKR smashed the ball everywhere. Venkatesh Iyer, everyone's new favourite player, I think. He led the charge, reached his maiden IPL 50. Off not very many balls as well. He was striking at about 200 as they chased it down with 7 wickets in hand, loads of overs. A thumping win, another thumping win from KKR, Dan.
Yeah, absolutely. So impressed. I tweeted yesterday and said, I love their intent that they're now showing. They've gone from zero to hero in 2 matches in terms of how their mentality has gone. McCullum's clearly demanded this. They've given Venkatesh Iyer this kind of luxury role at the top of the order, if you like, in terms of just going out and attacking. It's fantastic. Tripathi was superb as well. And it was the only downside for them on the day was another failure for Morgan.
It was. Yeah, he's continued his pretty miserable form with the bat. I thought, and I know why they did it, but I thought it was quite brave still to buck the trend a little bit and go full spin in the power play against Rohit and de Kock. I know that both de Kock and Rohit are much happier facing pace, facing seam than they are spin. But you don't often see 5 out of 6 overs bowled with spinners in a power play, especially in the IPL.
You definitely don't. I mean, this is something that I've been crying out for actually a little bit in the IPL, is that match-up spin, which I think a lot of teams are quite reticent to do. Now, I'm actually just running some numbers quickly about Rohit, because I think there's something to talk about there as well. So, I mean, yeah, give me a minute, and I'll
sure.
I'll come back to thoughts there, because we're talking about Virat. I think the same question has to be asked about Rohit Sharma, because on Twitter, someone asked me about retentions for MI. Now,
I saw this.
I actually don't think that Rohit Sharma is worthy of a retention at this point in time based on his output on the pitch. And what did some guy go? Oh,
glad you're not in charge of MI.
Yeah. But this is where we don't have agendas. Many people in the chat, they think we have agendas, and we don't have agendas. I just don't like seeing players who are unfortunately overpaid for the performance output that they show on the pitch. Now, if we look at Rohit Sharma, right? Now, in 2015, there was this last year of massive hitting in the IPL, where he hit 145 strike rate at 24 balls per dismissal. Now, that's good by anyone's standards. No doubt about that. I don't like Basra as a metric, but that's about 180 odd. Okay, I don't think that's massive value, adding massive value in anyone's book. Okay, now if we're looking at the boundary percentage from there on, there's been a couple of seasons, and this one's included. It's down below 15%. He hasn't struck at over 130 in any of the last 3 IPLs, including this one, 2019, 2020, and 2021. In only 1 out of the last 5 years, in 2018, he struck at over 130. So, given the fact that he's also, at the wrong end of the age curve, so to speak, as well, he's 34 years old now. He's going to turn 35 around the time of the next year's IPL. Do you want a guy who, unfortunately, I think it's reasonable to say, is on some form of decline on another 3-year cycle? Now, people might turn around and say, well, okay, you know what, he's a good captain and blah, 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 blah. But, the biggest mistake that an IPL team can make is retaining a marquee player on big money who's in decline. And personally, if I am MI, I would let someone else take the hit on that.
Yeah, or take a punt that he'll go for reasonably cheap in the mega auction.
I don't think what happened. I think that someone will pay big bucks. Probably.
I probably wouldn't pick him up as well. I think Mumbai have got another problem besides that though, and that's Hardik Pandya not playing. I think it really unbalances what they're trying to do and why they were so good last year, because they don't hit as deep. They don't have the variation of his bowling as well, which probably would suit these UAE pitches. And you can see the way that they bat. They bat with less abandon than when they know they've got the Hardik get out of jail card. I suppose a little bit down the order. I suppose he will come back. They are a much better team with him, though, aren't they, Dan?
No doubt. And a fully fit Hardik Pandya is like him and Bumrah are auto-retained. Like, there's literally, you don't even think twice about it. But a Hardik Pandya who's in and out of the team because he's injured and doesn't bowl, then that's a completely different proposition. This is where a team like Mumbai will need to let logic get in front of emotion, because, you know, Hardik's a franchise legend. If the medical reports suggest that the bowling output from him will be constrained over the next 3-year cycle, that's a big problem. Because he's fantastic for their balance. Like you say, he's a get out of jail free card at death. He provides a valuable bowling output. They can't afford to be without him. Well, the only way they can afford to be without him is if they cash in and find someone else who can do a similar job. But unfortunately, those players don't really exist.
Yeah. Well, particularly within the Indian market, I think it's trouble for them. In terms of this game, another player. There's a few KKR players that I think are quite entertaining to watch. So we talked about Iyer on the last podcast, but Prasith Krishna's another one who, when he bowls, has the wildest standard deviation that I think you can imagine. He bowled 4 overs. 2 of them went for 15. 2 of them went for less than 5, and he bowled like a wonder ball to get Surya Kumar Yadav nicked off. In terms of, you know, I can't really even think of it. It's a bit like watching Riquelme play football or something like that. It varies from like the sublime to the ridiculous. Except Riquelme is probably a bit better than Prasith Krishna. I can't quite put my finger on who he is, but he is so much fun to watch bowl. And he bowls quick as well, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think that actually he's quite the dictionary definition of someone who makes things happen, but unfortunately don't know whether it's for or against his team. But some way, shape or form, he makes things happen. And he's an entertaining player for sure. He was only bowler for KKR to bowl no balls as well, which is always entertaining as well.
Yeah, he bowled a couple, and he looked so shocked, like it has never happened before. And it's like, well, it happened like 10 minutes ago. Yeah. Vic in the sent us a super chat saying sacrilege by Dan. Love it. Rohit, Virat, and MSD are God category, but India need to be cold like Dan to win the T20 World Cup. And they may need to be. I can't. I mean, thinking back to yesterday. I guess the question, and we've kind of got this in from Jordan Henderson. I don't think it's the Jordan Henderson, unfortunately, on Twitter. So there's 2 questions. How can we explain the huge gulf in quality between KKR's performance in both phases of the comp? Are they now favourites to make the playoffs, Dan?
I don't know how you explain it. Maybe literally McCullum, sorry, has set up a WhatsApp group and just put intent in it every single morning. I cannot believe the difference between them pre-UAE and post-UAE. It's like 2 different teams with only really 1 extra player, Venkatesh Iyer. That's it. They've got Bindosh Shakib Al Hassan, which was a weird purchase to start with. We spoke about that before the tournament even started. Which doesn't provide intent, and they've got good local spinners, and they have Narayan anyway. So where was the need for that? And there wasn't really one. KKR looking like dark horses now. I mean, they've played a game more than a couple of other teams like Rajasthan. But yeah, they're in with a shout. They've got a good positive run rate, which is courtesy of that brutal demolition of RCB a few days ago. Their team who could get 7 wins and qualify.
Yeah,
3 out of the last 5, they're going to go 3 probably, or they'll have a top.
Yeah, I think they'll have better than 50% shot, won't they? Looking at the table at the moment, because they're with the sub 50% win rate, they're in 4th, which is good. I mean, Rajasthan can catch them. Will they? Yeah. Who knows?
There's one question that we have to go down. Where we have to go down with Rajasthan is how many matches against Sunrisers do they have? And they're actually playing on Monday.
Rajasthan have have got a shout to qualify, haven't they? They've
Yeah,
got...
yeah. It's. I think it's 3 of RCB, KKR, and Rajasthan.
What about Mumbai?
Sorry, 2 of the 4. Sorry.
Yeah. Yes, yeah. KKR v Rajasthan is the final game of both their group stages, so that could be a bit of a humdinger on the 7th of October there. We had a couple more questions on Twitter that I wanted to get to. One, this is quite a good one from Balls 23 to 45. Based on what you see in the IPL now, would you pick a different Indian T20 team for the World Cup?
I don't know who else you'd really pick. I'm just trying to think of who's actually in the squad. I don't mind India's squad that much. I think they have obvious holes, but they were obvious holes regardless of who you pick. Like, they have no top 6 batters who bowl, really. There's a question mark over Hardik Pandya's fitness. They don't really have that many bowlers who can hit. And I know people might turn around and say, well, Sharjah Thakur can hit, but not really. He's not like a Rashid Khan or Hassan Ali kind of hitter. And unfortunately, with the best will in the world, he's not an above-average bowler at that level either. So they have holes, but they don't really have players who are unpicked who could fill those holes, if that makes sense.
It is. I think that's basically the situation, isn't it? It'd be maybe the closest they've got to that sort of player is Jadeja, but I don't know if they'll want to fully. Besides Hardik, if Hardik can bowl, but I don't know if they'd want to fully unleash him. Girish has asked basically those 2 questions as well about Hardik Pandya and KKR's prospects. I think we've answered them from patreon.com/thecricketpod, which leaves us with just one last topic to cover very briefly, and that I've clicked the wrong thing here. I was going to get the fixtures up for the. I'm just going to search it. Hold on. All I could see was RCB's fixtures. That leaves us with the weekend's games, and we've got a double header. Tomorrow, Delhi Capitals v Rajasthan. Just really briefly, who do you think will win that one and why?
50-50 game.
50-50 game.
Yeah, I can't wait for Lewis and Livingston and Sampson versus Delhi. Still think Delhi are not as good as the table suggests, but they are a good team. Mm-hmm. Looking forward to that, actually. I think that'll be a cracker. I can't wait. 4 games over the weekend. What could be better?
Yes, it's good. It is good. It's a shame it clashes with the golf a little bit, but...
Before I was EA 10 hours early access on FIFA. So after 4 games over the weekend, we'll...
Then we've got the battle of the bottom feeders. Sunrisers Hyderabad, the Punjab Kings of Comedy. I think KL Rahul's boys have got that. Yeah. Chennai Super Kings v KKR kicks us off on Sunday. That I think could be quite a good game because both of these teams are quite aggressive.
Well, Sunrisers are playing at Sharjah. That could be comedy.
What as in they might set a record for lowest number of sixes in a T20 at Sharjah.
Either that managed Pandya sets his strike rate record for the tournament over, was it 25 or something?
Yeah. CSK v KKR though.
That is a cracker.
That's a good game.
I'm shocked I'm saying this. I actually kind of want Morgan's Intent Merchants to do this.
To make it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like for the competition, the KKR win is the thing that that would be most exciting. CSK, they've got to win 1 of 5 matches to virtually guarantee qualification.
For the table.
Yeah. Let's say KKR for that one, and then Sunrisers, not Sunrisers. What am I talking about? Royal Challengers Bangalore v Mumbai Indians, the Sunday evening or Sunday afternoon match.
Gigantic match that.
It is, isn't it? I think that one, the winner of that, I think definitely qualifies. The loser is in serious jeopardy.
Yeah.
Because I think RCB with an even record and 4 to play, and a terrible run rate, need to win 3 out of 4, and it'll be the same situation, really, won't it, for Mumbai Indians? They'll need to win.
They'll be 4-6.
Yeah. Yes.
It's the Western Derby actually, because I've got back my boys RCB, but Mrs. Western is a big MI fan.
Oh.
So yeah,
She's seen the light.
Yeah, she has. Yeah. Glory Hunter, but since she started supporting them, it hasn't gone too well.
All right. Well, that brings us to a close. Dan, do you want to let people know where to find yourself?
Yeah, sure. danweston.substack.com. I'm on the road to 1K subscribers.
Oh, yeah. How you doing?
I've got about 200. So
that's pretty good. It's better than our one. We've got about 80 over there. Although I'm the only person who ever posts, and I only do it about once a month. So
tell your friends, like and subscribe. Let's beat the Substack algorithm. And then on Twitter, I'm at SA Advantage.
Cool. And you can find us on Twitter at The Cricket Pod, patreon.com/The Cricket Pod. We're sponsored by Woodstock Cricket. And subscribe on YouTube or wherever you are listening to this. Thanks very much. We will be back over the weekend at some point for that's it. It's a Super Saturday and a Super Sunday in the IPL.